Good morning. Glad to have you here with us this morning. And hope the message is something that you can kind of wrap your mind and your heart around today. It's a tough message because it's talking about some very powerful temptations that we face in life, and as often we find in the Old Testament, the writers can be very earthy. I mean, they just kind of lay it out the way it really is. And so maybe this message, I look around here, it's going to be safe with everybody here. Maybe not with some people I see, but PG-13 message, okay? That's the way it is. But we're going to be talking about the problems we face in facing temptations. In Proverbs chapter 7, and if you want to turn to that, just give you a quick page reference here. I'm on a page 531. But before we do that, I thought I'd kind of get everybody to relax a little bit here. We'll just show some of these maybe truthful but yet humorous depictions of temptations here. You know, this statement kind of lays it out for me, I think. I generally avoid temptation unless I can't resist it. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, we kind of go through this world and say, I don't succumb to temptations unless, of course, I do. All right, so there you go. How about this one here, walking down the junk food aisle, if you're religious enough and if you put Jesus first, you're never going to have a problem with temptation, right? Well, we know that's just not true. I mean, putting Jesus first in your life is the key, but it doesn't mean you're not going to face the food aisles in life. You got to walk through some of them sometimes. How about this here? Do not push the button. I don't know if you can read the bottom of it, but it says, do you really want to spend the rest of your life wondering? You know, the last thing you want to tell somebody is, don't do this. If they're young and naive and simple, and you've just told them to do it, right? That's what the law was about, by the way. Paul says that if the law never told me not to do it, I never would have wanted to do it. But since the law told me not to do it, that sin within me said, I want to do it now. That's what sin does. How about this here? This one I really related to. You know, it says level 99. I don't know what that means, temptation, but if I was riding my motorcycle down the road and I saw this, there'd be this urge just to kind of say, could I do it? Should I do it? That's temptation. It just kind of takes you stupid places, I guess. But they're all over the place. I like this one here, go ahead, touch it. Isn't it pretty? Oh my goodness. Temptation comes in all kinds of things. We can laugh at it right now, but it really is a very, very serious subject we're going to look at today. Is there a way to keep safe from temptations? The answer is absolutely yes. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely no. It can be easier, and the easier it is, and what makes it easier is when you listen to wisdom. When you listen to the words of God, His commandments, it says, do not touch. He kind of really means do not touch, not because He's being mean, but because He says it will hurt you. It will hurt other people, so do not touch. Of course, God gives us His free will. He gives us the ability to say, I trust you, God, and I'm going to follow you, or, God, I'm not quite sure you're telling me the truth, so the only way for me to find out is I'm going to go ahead and touch this thing. Well, if you're at Proverbs chapter 7, this is a narrative about a young, naive man, a simple man, I don't know how old, we can say he's 18 years old just for the sake of the discussion here. And there is this picture of this man, this father, not his father right now, but he's looking out the windows of his home and he sees this young man walking into danger. And the danger is the allure of a woman who is a prostitute. And he sees where this man is going, and he knows he's walking into his own death, his own demise. And it causes him so much concern that he leaves this window to find his own son to tell him, don't be like that simple man and walk down that street. So that's kind of what's going on here. It tells a story. It's a story that we need to hear here. But let's begin here with this, looking at just the first 5 verses. And the idea here is keep wisdom close. Is there a way to be safe from temptation? The answer is yes, by keeping wisdom close to your heart, close to your mind. Make it really the most important thing of your life in that sense, okay? So the writer is Solomon. I think he's telling this story not necessarily about himself and his observation, but maybe he is. But the writer tells us narrative, and here it goes in verse 1. He says, "My son, keep my words and treasure up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend, to keep you from the forbidden woman and from the adulteress with her smooth words. For at the window of my house I looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths, a young man lacking sense, passing along the streets near her corner, taking the road to her house, in the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness." So the temptation that he's going to describe here is a temptation to be seduced, to be enticed, to walk into the arms of an adulteress, of a wayward woman, a married woman, one who has her designs on a young man and the trappings of it. But let me say this. It really doesn't matter what the temptation is. The same principles we find in here can be applied to so many other temptations in life, whether it's temptation to lie, falling into that trap, or the temptation to steal, or the temptation to gossip, or to hurt somebody, or to be mean to somebody, to be self-indulgent in whatever form that looks like. Here is the temptation of self-indulgence. The young man is allured, finds this woman alluring, and he wants what she is offering, and she knows it. And she packages herself in such a way to make it even more enticing. And of course, that's what sin does to us. Here, let's take a look at some of these passages together. He says, "My son, keep my words." You remember, this is a father who has witnessed through his window, watching what's going on in the streets, other young men walking towards their own demise, their death in a sense, and their own destruction. And his heart begins to worry about his own son. He thinks that could be my son. It's somebody's son. Like, where is the father of the son that's walking down the road right now? It could be a mother, but really it's the father who's speaking here. And this young man apparently has no father that cares for him, at least not outwardly that we see it here, but he is worried about his son. So he says, "My son, keep my words and treasure my commands within you. Keep my commands and live." And then he tells us what kind of attitude a person should have with his commands, which is another word for wisdom. He says, "Keep my commands and live, and my laws as the apple of your eye." You've probably heard that phrase before, right? She's the apple of my eye, he's the apple of my eye. It's a euphemism for saying, I've focused on this. If you looked into my eyes, you would see in my pupil the reflection of what I'm looking at. It is the center of my focus. It is something that I treasure, that which I long to have, and that which I am focused on. And if you think about this here, if you really are focused on God's commands and things like that, your eyes are focused on this. You're not going to be turning and looking at this, which is leading you astray. But he goes on to say, bind them on your fingers. Interesting phrase, isn't it? Anybody want to try to venture what that means? You ever tie a little string? People in the olden days did this before they had a phone that they could remind themselves to. So you use tie. Now, what is that string on my finger for? Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to kind of go like that there. So anyway, you bind them around your fingers. Also could refer to the fact that it's your fingers that are the in a way that which is doing the active action of maybe sinfulness. But if you have His word, His commands wrapped around your fingers, they're less likely to pursue that. He goes on to say, write them on the tablet of your heart. That heart comes up throughout scriptures. And the heart is this here. It's that place within you that identifies that which is important to you. Your mind gives thoughts. Your mind recognizes something, you give it thought, and you take that object that your mind is thinking about, and once your mind recognizes it, it places it in the heart, and the heart assigns it as a treasure value. It's where you treasure things, right? When you give your heart to somebody, you're saying, I treasure you. What he's saying here now, your heart, to write it on the tablets of your heart, is to make sure that your heart has access to it and it's not forgotten. You write it down. Goes on to say to wisdom, you are my sister, and to insight, you are my relative. They'll keep you from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman with her seductive words. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your sister, but basically it was saying, you're saying to wisdom, you are close to me. You're a part of my household. You are part of my life. You know me, and I know you, and that's the way it ought to be. You keep wisdom close to you as if they live with you and they're part of your family. And you say you are my relative because they will keep you from the adulterous woman, right? And from the wayward woman with her seductive or enticing words. Now I want you to think about this for a second, and maybe some of you can relate. When you were a young man, a teenager, or a young woman, teenager, and you had eyes on somebody, as a boyfriend or girlfriend kind of a thing, and you had an older sister, what would the older sister often do? They would evaluate that person, whether you liked it or not, right? They had this kind of protectiveness about them, and they often might see something in this person that you didn't see. And they would go to Mom, Dad, you got to tell so-and-so over there, stay away from this girl. I know her. She's trouble. She's a problem. Get her away from her. Or the older sister would go to you and say, you don't want to mess with this girl. She's trouble. I know her. She's got a reputation. And it's that sense. Of course, the younger brother would say, I'll date who I want to date, and who are you to tell me? But if that younger brother is smart, unless the older sister's got some kind of alternative motive, she's going to give him good advice. And so this is the picture that we're getting about wisdom here, okay? Wisdom has to be brought close to you. It has to be a strong part of your life. It has to be the apple of your eye, something that you focused on and that you treasure. You have to accept wisdom as a close, personal, intimate friend, as a relative, as somebody who cares for you, that you may not always understand why they say the things that they say, or why they're giving you the direction they give you, but you trust them. Keeping yourself safe from temptation is by keeping wisdom close to your heart. There. But now we're going to get into this more graphic detail about who this woman is. And again, I would encourage you to, I don't have a problem with women, trying to lure me away, but the truth is there's always a temptation that she can represent. whether it's a temptation, like I said before, to be dishonest or to gossip or to be mean or to be unforgiving or uncaring and things like that. The allure is what we're looking at in this passage here, how it is enticing, alluring, promising you that it can fulfill your needs. And actually, when these temptations come to you, they come to you saying, I'm here to serve you. But in reality, they come to enslave you. You think they are going to meet a need, but in reality, they grab hold of you and lead you down that pathway of no return. Let's look at verses 10 through 23 here together. It's kind of a longer reading, but beginning here in verse 10, and behold, the woman meets him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. She seizes him and kisses him. And with a bold face she says to him, I had to offer sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows. So now I have come out to meet you, to seek you eagerly, and I have found you. I have spread my couch with coverings, colored linens from Egyptian linen. I perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning. Let us delight ourselves with love, for my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him. At full moon he will come home. With much seductive speech she persuades him. With her smooth talk she compels him. All at once he follows her, as an ox goes to slaughter, or a stag, which is a deer, is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its liver. As birds rush into a snare, he does not know that it will cost him his life. This is pretty powerful admonition and warning here. It says this woman, and again, it's not the purpose of the writer of this to degrade women like they are dangerous and stay away from their problems and things like that, because you have to remember that wisdom is personified as a woman too. Very alluring and capable, and so you have this woman who's wisdom, who wants what's best for you, who cares for you, who understands you, and wants to help you be the very best you can. Who wouldn't want a woman like that? But on the other hand, you have a woman here who now is an adulteress, and she is dressed like a prostitute with crafty intent. She's dressed in such a way that there is no mistaking what her intent is. I mean, you really have to walk, if you're walking down the street, you know right away what this woman is standing here for. Now, what does it mean that she was dressed this way back in that culture? A more revealing outfit, not very covered up very well, hair that was braided in a certain way that demonstrates in a way that was meant to be enticing and alluring and very seductive, a painted face and things like this. So it was very clear what her intent was. The young man could not have been fooled about what her intent was. What he was fooled about is her danger to him. She is unruly and defiant. Her feet never stay at home, now on the street, now in the squares, at every corner she looks. This kind of reminds me that there's temptation isn't just located here in some hidden forest where few people find it. Temptation is every day that you walk out of your home or even in your home. Temptation is there, and if you are open to it, it will manifest itself to you in some form or some way. That's a very dangerous world, and I think everyone right here would understand, especially with today's World Wide Web, the internet. It is even more available for people. There is no hiding from it. But anyway, she uses, with persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced or enticed him into a sexual, immoral action with her smooth talk. And, you know, The idea of a smooth talk is what? It's easy to listen to. It goes down really well. It's easy to swallow. You don't have to chew it much. It's not harsh. It's not demeaning. They're not looking down at you. Their whole purpose is to win you over. And so they're going to use words that you can hear and you like to hear and you want to hear. But all at once he followed her like an ox going to slaughter. How many of us think that the ox that is being led to slaughter knows that it's being led to slaughter? They're clueless. That's what's being depicted here. The young man now has become clueless to what this pathway, where it is leading him. He's like a deer stepping into a noose. The nooses are hidden, right? They're little trappings, a rope or a vine or something like that. When they step in it, it grabs them and it won't let them go. And that's what sin does. Once it grabs you, it's not letting you go. It's got you. Until an arrow pierces his liver. In Old Testament times, we speak of the heart. You broke my heart. Back in those days, the liver is more of the center of life, they saw it. And the center of your life now is pierced. And you feel it now. Now you start to experience your foolish decisions, your foolish behavior. It is piercing your heart. Have you ever had your heart broken? I bet everybody in this room has experienced it, some more deeply than others. That's what he's describing here, because now you've been led to the slaughter, and the arrow pierces your liver, your heart, and now you feel like life is gone. Till like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. When we look at these principles of seduction here, what we can learn is first of all, sin does not tempt us with ugliness. You know what I mean by that, right? It doesn't come and with the intent, I'm going to be repulsive in front of you. When you look at me, you're going to feel sick to the stomach because I am so unappealing. It doesn't work like that. In fact, sin, the temptation to sin, it comes across as very enticing. You've got a hunger, and this is a great meal to eat. And you just eat without thinking about the calories or what it's going to do. You're hungry, and so you eat it. And it's like a table that was set so wonderful and so inviting. And they pull the chair out and say, "Here, sit, have a seat." And it's so easy to just kind of relax and to fall into that chair and pick up the knife and the fork and start to eat it, not knowing that it's costing you your life. Sin uses enticing words, it uses beauty, it uses your own desires and your own hunger. It promises you not just fulfilling a desire, but a more meaningful thing. If you go down this road, you will feel fulfilled, you'll feel loved, you'll feel powerful, you'll feel, and fill in the blank. But it's all a lie. Here, Venus flytrap, pretty flowers. I wanted to put one open that they were all the way open here, but how do these things trap these flies? Not by having an aroma that turns the flies away, but they have this scent that evaporates out of the flower, and it goes in the air around it, and the fly smells this thing. They have a very strong sense of smell. They come to it, and within that flower there's nectar, there's some kind of nectar or that it eats, and it feeds and it gorges itself on, and it's quite happy on there until it tries, until that flower. It's an interesting design of God, right? What a reminder to us that sin traps you and it devours. The purpose of catching this fly isn't to have a house pet. It's not to feed it, but its purpose is to eat it. And so look at that personification of temptation. Its desire is for you. It hungers for you. It wants to own you. Whoops, come on, where'd it go? I lost, oh, there, no. There. Oh, there it is. I lost it there. Here it is. I'm thinking about this fish, and what is this fish thinking right now? Yeah, I'm hungry, right? This is just a little bit. It's a small thing, and it will fill up my need, and I'm going to take it, and I can handle this. But I don't know if you can see to the left of the lure, there's the fishing line. He doesn't see that. Because once he bites into that, he's caught. And that little lure is not dinner, but he is dinner. This is the idea of these temptations. They're not your friend. They're not designed to help you. They're designed to capture you and destroy you. Well, here's the hope that we have, and that is that it's not a hopeless thing if we keep listening to wisdom. Keep listening to this. Verse 24. The Father is speaking again. He says, "And now, O sons, listen to me and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths, and for many a victim she has laid low. And all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a way to Sheol, going down into the chambers of death." Sheol, some feel that's referring to hell, but it really is a picture of death, being buried, okay? And so the Father, after explaining in quite graphic details, warning his son of the dangers of going down this pathway, now it's a very passionate, a very emphatic, powerful calling on him to listen. "Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say." I like this picture because it seems like, sometimes our sons and our daughters, or sometimes us, we're going so fast down the road that we fail to see the warning signs because we are just captivated by the allure of whatever the thing we're thinking of here. He says, do not let your heart turn to her ways and stray into her paths. And one of the safest things that you can do is, when you know that you're susceptible or you might be susceptible to something, is to not open up that door and start taking that first step down there, right? I heard this story years ago, and it's just so powerful to me. This wealthy woman wanted to hire a chauffeur, and she was interviewing people, and one of the ways she interviewed them to see which driver would fit her needs most is she had this long, narrow driveway, and on one side of the driveway were these flowers or very decorative plants and things like that, and she would ask the driver, "So how close can you get to the side of my flower beds and decorative plants without hitting them, running into them?" And typically the guys would boast, well, one guy said, "I can get within, about 1.5 feet of it." Another guy says, "I can get to within 1 foot." And one arrogant guy says, "If I stick my head out the window, I can get within inches without hitting it." But she wasn't interested in any of them but there was one man who she interviewed who gave her the right answer. His answer was, "Well, I don't know how close I can get to it. All I know is I'm going to stay as far away as possible." And she's the one she trusted and hired him. And so You can't just say, well, I'm going to walk 5 feet into this pathway, but I'll still have enough power to walk away. That's not true all the time. I'm going to try a little bit of this. Gossip a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm going to go so far, but then I'll stop and turn around. And the thing about sin is once it's captivated you, once you've given it thought, once you've entertained it, it's got you, and sin will happen. Verses 26, 27, for she has cast down many wounded, and all who were slain by her were strong men. That's an interesting phrase, right? See, these men thought, I can resist her. I'm not afraid of her. She's just a woman. It's just a temptation. It's just a gossip I'm hearing. It's just a little, opportunity to just take something or to say something mean or to look at somebody with lust. I'm not going to take her home with me. I'm just going to think about that for a little while. And you think you're strong enough, but those are the kind of people that sin and temptation grabs hold of. Her house is a way to hell, which I would say is death, descending to the chambers of death. Okay, so this is alligator snapping turtle. They can get really big. What is interesting about these things here is this little minnow fish sees something that's kind of captivated it. I don't know if you can see it, but right at the tip of his tongue, there's this little aperture, different color. Looks like a little worm. Now, this fish doesn't see the big picture. It just sees what it's hungry for. Dad comes in the picture here, or mom, says, stop and listen. Let me tell you about the alligator snapping turtle. They have this built-in fishing lure that looks like a worm that you can eat. But the truth is, the snapping turtle wants to eat you. One of the wonderful things about having a church family is you have lots of brothers and sisters that care about you, that know you and only want what's best for you. They're like wisdom that God gives us. They can see intense sometimes, maybe our eyes are looking at something we shouldn't, or we're walking down a path we shouldn't, and they're going to put their arms around you and say, come back this way with me. Maybe there's no teenagers in the room right now, but young men and young women, they need moms and dads to speak into their lives. They need church family. They need friends that care about them. During the school year, or actually, except with the exception of July, we have a youth group that meets in the church here every other Thursday night. And I would say more than half of the kids do not go to church anywhere else. But their moms and dads are glad for them to come here. And why is it? Because they're assuming the right thing, that here they're going to learn good, safe things. And that, again, is the beauty and the greatness about being able to have a church where it's a safe place to come and learn wisdom. So let me just end with a prayer for us all. And of course, our prayer is that whether we're tempted by an adulteress or tempted by fill in the blank, whatever it is, the principles remain the same, and that is wisdom is the key. Understanding God's will, understanding His goodness, understanding His commandments and His laws that warn us, don't go this way, but go that way there. Having people, brothers and sisters around us that care about us. Learning not to walk down the path to begin with, not even a single half a step, are some of the keys to keep us from falling into temptations. Father God, so we thank you for this warning. We thank you that you care enough about us that you will not just idly watch us walk down the pathway of self-destruction. I pray that each of us here would be ready to look for your grace and your strength in us. I pray that we would keep your words as the apple of our eye, where we find wisdom. I pray that we can help each other, not in a judgmental way, but I pray that we would help each other in a way that is out of concern and love, and do it in a spirit of humility. But help us all, Father, because all of us can be prone to the temptations of life. But we thank you that you have not let us, you have not abandoned us, that you will always provide a way for us to escape. And we do so in the power of the name of Jesus and of his Holy Spirit that lives within us. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.